Hello, I kind of forgot a tiny detail last time. I completely forgot about the developer commentary. We want that on. We want to see what that's about. Because, I mean, we're playing the game again anyway, so we might as well... Oh, fuck, that just reset my recording. God damn it, I'm gonna have to sync that up now. Well, should be fine still. Now we have, yeah, I don't even think I need to apply. Apply is probably just for the graphics settings, but oh well. Now we have the developer commentary all turned on, and I have no idea what that even means. If that's gonna be like audio tracks playing, or if it's just like random pop-ups, or if there are items you interact with, or like points that you look at. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe there's just a lot of reading, maybe there's a lot of listening, but let's start a new game again and redo the parts again at the start. It'll be fine. It probably won't take too long. I'm assuming I can just skip the intro, because I mean, there shouldn't be anything in the intro, right? I'm just gonna skip it. It's just like Arid falling down to Earth. Oh yeah, yeah, there it is. Okay, so you see those pretty noticeable commentary pop-up things, and I assume I can just look at it and then listen to it or read it. That's cool.
Accessing mission.
Oh, it just disappeared. Wait, did I have to like press something at that point, or is it gonna come back after the tutorial part? Hello? Oh god, that was weird. Ah, okay, it's back. Alright, good.
Hello and welcome to the developer commentary for the fall. I'm the games director, John Warner.
I'm the writer. My name is Caleb Allard.
We both put a lot of love into the project. It's sort of our baby, so have fun, and we hope you enjoy it. Hello and welcome.
Okay. Too bad there's no subtitles. Would have liked to have some subtitles, but that's fine. I'll just shut the fuck up when I'm listening to those. That's cool. Kind of bad audio, though. I mean, even my audio isn't very good, but it's better than that. But that's okay, I suppose. So, yeah. Alright. So that's how developer commentary is gonna work. I guess that's fine. Let's actually get back to where we were now and listen to more. Oh, and more. Okay.
When I set out to make the fall, I was really inspired to make a game that was really focused around exploration. I've played other games, obviously, that have a lot of exploration, Metroid Prime being a really good example, but most of the gameplay revolves around platforming and shooting and that kind of stuff, which is fun, there's nothing wrong with it. But I was really inspired to make a game where players had to pay attention and players had to read, and that was the central thing that really moved the gameplay forward.
You mean a point-and-click game?
So here we see our first glimpse of our friend here, the caretaker, who's stalking you.
Yeah, our dear friend, the caretaker.
This is kind of our first mystery.
Yeah, so the fall is very much about mystery because it's about exploration.
Right.
And so those two things go hand in hand. And we want to compel the players forward with the mystery. Mm-hmm. And we want to give them solid answers to that as rewards as they're going along.
Because if we don't, then it just becomes this endless drudge through unanswered questions forever.
Yeah, like a rabbit hole.
I hate that more than anything else.
Something I wanted to stay away from in the fall is when you have like really compartmentalized question and answer. And there are game formats where that's appropriate, but you have a question in front of you and then you figure out the answer. Done, wrapped, shipped.
I require attempt.
We really wanted to create an environment where the mystery would unfold and you would get an understanding, and that would give you a better foundation in the world.
To open up more mystery.
Or the mystery that you've solved would take on a new form, a new meaning. This guy here, obviously, if we figure out who he is relatively quickly, but there are other bigger mysteries. The other Arid on the cross, who are they, why are they there?
Gonna interrupt again.
Subsystem.
What is or isn't really wrong with Arid? Some of these things will be revealed later, of course, in the upcoming parts.
Huh, wow, so that was a lot of talking. I guess, man, this is gonna be not a lot of me talking and mostly just the developers, but that's fine, I suppose. Interesting to note that I can like actually do stuff while I'm listening, but if the developer commentary points are gonna be this common, then I'm gonna have to stop at some point and just listen. But, huh, I'm not sure. Ah, God, I was gonna bring something up. I'm probably gonna be a little bit of a negative Nancy on some of these points, and, like, don't get me wrong, I like the game, but I do have my fair share of criticism for it, and, oh man, what was they said? They said something about, like, getting answers to all the questions, which I did not think you got in this game at all, and it kind of just opened up more questions at the end, and then, I mean, for the sake of a cliffhanger, I suppose, and wanting to bring you into the next one, but maybe they're talking about the story more overall, like across all of the games in the end. That's gonna take a long time, but once we're done, hopefully everything will be answered, maybe. But I can only judge it based on what I played so far, and so far, I'm not entirely in agreement of the whole, like, everything gets answered, and as you progress, you get rewarded for figuring out the knowledge, and you get, like, actual answers. But, I don't know, that's just me.
We started the Fallout in a cave actually long before I even knew it was going to
I'm
be
just
the
gonna wait
Fall
here.
or who the protagonist was. The game actually started as a painting. So it really kind of started about feelings more than anything else, and it came into a more cohesive story as we started exploring, you know, who the character was and what we wanted to do, and we really just kind of started connecting dots. Every game up until now, I've always wanted to have this really complex idea and, you know, make this interesting thing, but this is the first thing that I've ever made, or worked on at least, where I didn't have any idea what I was doing at the beginning, and I just started with a painting. And I think starting in a more intuitive, unconscious place, with working with feelings, is probably a good place to start with a project.
And then once you get that feeling out there where you can stick your fingers into it like pudding, then you can start analyzing it.
Right.
And making rational, logical connections between what your gut was telling you you wanted to play in.
Well, I don't think there's anything necessarily better or worse about doing that. Just doing a more, like, concept first or artistic vision first, and then you flesh out a game around it. There's nothing bad about that, but I don't think there's anything to overly praise about that either, personally. I mean, a game is just a game. If you want to make a game that's artistic and, yeah, like, more apparently based on a painting and more of a sort of vision, then that's fine, that's cool, that's great. But it's equally as acceptable to just think of, I want this mechanic, and this core mechanic would be amazing in a game, and I want to make a game around that mechanic, and then flesh it out from there, and then make up the story afterwards and stuff. I think either can work, and it just depends on the type of game you do, really. So, as I said, I'm gonna, like, probably talk back a little bit. Just don't take anything I say as just complete, like, these guys are fucking idiots. I'm just sharing my opinions on things and such.
So here we uncloak another Arid, who is effectively a mirror for us. Even
cool.
Your little avatar picture, but, you know, cracked down.
Didn't know they were all called
and
Arids.
As a mirror, it evokes incredible danger. That has the exact same capacities as me. That could be me.
But he's kind of Arid's opposite in another way.
He is so broken physically, but he's functioning perfectly internally in terms of his willingness to follow the rules, his willingness to be depurposed.
In fact, you've said before that he's the most functional character in the game.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. He is the one who's working right. He was voiced by Lee Majub, who also actually did the army bots, and that was how he explained it to Lee. Though we were wanting to play with a lot of oppression symbolism with women, Arid has this female voice. There's domestication in the kitchen, stuff like that. We didn't want to say that it's a story about the oppression of women happening in Robotland. So we're like, let's give him a male voice so that we can show that it's something beyond that we're using that as a symbolism.
Huh, that's actually interesting, because I thought almost the opposite there. I thought it was interesting that, like, it didn't matter at all what gender anyone was. It was like, oh, Arid, the suit is a female voice, doesn't matter. She has, the pilot was supposedly a man, and then, like, that guy on the cross is just a male AI, and he has a pilot, who knows what gender, like, it doesn't matter, any of it. And then you get to that old-fashioned domestication test and all that, and that was purposefully very, like, yeah, stuck up and like, oh, women in the kitchen and the father talking about my son needs protein and stuff. I thought that was really funny and, like, not going for the whole... Like, it was obviously because this is an old, abandoned facility, it's stuck in its old ways, and I don't think it was any particular, like, big... Oh my god, we have a female character. That was what I liked about it. It was just... She's just female, it doesn't matter. And that's what I think you should do, really. Like, why should it matter?
This elevator test actually went through several iterations to get it to the point where people could generally figure out they needed to hop off and head down below. The water pipe,
skipping a little bit.
The removal of a ground plane that used to be there when the elevator moved, and then finally the addition of the rat were all things that we added to sort of give hints that the player could actually get off the elevator and head down. Ultimately, I kind of like the test because it's one of the first times that the players got to break an expectation, which is something that we tried to work throughout the fall in lots of different places.
I definitely agree with that. I think that was really clever, the elevator puzzle. And as I said, like, when I played it the first time, way back, I mean, it wasn't way back, but, you know, in the first episode or second episode or whatever it was, I was, like, convinced that I was breaking the game by doing this, and I wasn't supposed to do it, but then that was actually the puzzle that you solved. I thought that was a very neat mechanic, and I liked it a lot. So, completely agree with that. Good job.
It was pretty important that we got lighting in the fall to look right. To that end,
oh yeah, lighting is great.
Actually composed of 3 separate spotlights that are turned on and off based on which direction she's facing. This allows us to have control over how the objects in the near foreground and background are lit, so that we can give objects...
Hold on, 1 second. I want to re-listen to that. What did he say about, like, the spotlights, depending on which direction she's facing? Let me hear that again.
It's important that we got lighting in the fall to look right. To that end, Aird's flashlight is actually composed of
3
separate spotlights that are turned on and off based on which direction she's facing. This allows us to have control over how the objects in the near foreground and background are lit, so that we can give objects the illusion that they appear on the same plane as Arid without having them crash through her body awkwardly as she walks past.
Ah, yeah, that's awesome. I hadn't even considered that. Like, yeah, the lighting was great. I thought that the lighting was really nice in the atmosphere, but I didn't specifically think about the flashlight. If you stand on the right and you shine something, shine your light at something, and then you go to the other side and you shine on it, it's a completely different lighting map or whatever you want to call it. That's very interesting since it's in a 2D plane. Yeah, I like that. Oh no, I can't. Okay, well, gonna have to do this again before I can listen to more stuff.
Artificial life form. State your primary function.
Okay, so I'm gonna issue standard greeting this time.
On board this Mark 7 combat.
Mark 7 ARID. State your primary function.
I see. I see, okay.
Negative.
You are being evaluated for depurposing. State your primary function.
Sure.
My primary function.
Human occupant.
Impossible. Can you be...
Evaluate. Initialize.
No.
So yeah, this doesn't have any difference at all, depending on what you say. Man, I'm not even gonna get, like, halfway to where I was last time, but this is cool. I'm liking this commentary stuff right now. Alright, there we go.
So here we have Arid being evaluated for the first time in some way. She's being held to a set of rules that aren't fair or don't really fit her.
Yeah, that she hasn't agreed to participate in.
Right, exactly, yeah. But her survival is at stake nonetheless.
Yeah, and ultimately, all of the AIs in this world are participating in a set of rules that they didn't agree to. It's what they were programmed to.
Right, yeah.
And it's negotiating their relationships with those things. So Arid has her protocols that are informed upon herself, and now here she's trying to fit into this other guy's rule set that she's not even really aware of what's going on there.
I think it's really important when you talk about rules to a certain extent that as long as, or to the extent that they're unconscious, it's important to understand that a lot of rules are completely and totally arbitrary. People hold themselves to these systems of rules that really don't necessarily match them or their goals or even the greater good or any sort of moral sense. And of course, as somebody wakes up and can choose to live their life by their own rules or a set of rules they think is more healthy, then that's another thing completely. But I think all the rules that we hold Aeryd to are almost completely baseless in a way.
Yeah, for her as an individual. Anyway, they're completely externally imposed upon her.
Right.
And that's that relationship to validation, where if your rule set, the thing that you're living by, is something externally imposed, even though it's literally internal for her, but ultimately it's an external reality, then your validation is equally going to have to be an external thing.
Well, I've realized that I'm probably not going to be able to comment on everything, every single topic they talk about, because this one was just kind of philosophical and controversial and stuff, and, like, I don't really have any opinion to share on this matter. Interesting to hear about, though, so I'm just gonna move on with it.
Here is where we first meet the caretaker, who's voiced by Alejandro Pacheco, and this scene has...
I was supposed to go up here first.
As well.
It's kind of hard to imagine that this scene was so completely
Self-evaluate
different
pilot login
because he fits so well
edit
here.
log.
I mean,
Fuck,
he's
shut up.
Antagonist, and we're introducing him as the first threat. I mean, it just makes perfect sense. But in the original iteration, it actually wasn't the caretaker. Long before I really had a clear idea of where the game was headed, it was this sort of big HAL 9000-esque light. And when Caleb and I sat down and we really started looking at what the story needed to become and all the elements that I had and how we could make it work.
So here...
Fuck, oh god damn it, oh man. Okay, that's gonna be a problem if you accidentally start another one as you're listening to a specific track. It just cancels out that track and starts playing the new one. Goddamn, that kind of stinks. And yeah, I just noticed that you have to actually talk to Jesus Guy to progress. I saw that in the... I haven't watched the speedrun, but I watched a little bit of the speedrun. I kind of want to watch more of it. And they did that too.
Here is where we first meet the caretaker, who's voiced by Alejandro Pacheco, and this scene has gone through a number of iterations as well.
It's kind of hard to imagine that this scene was so completely different at the beginning because he fits so well here. I mean, he's a central antagonist, and we're introducing him as the first threat. I mean, it just makes perfect sense. But in the original iteration, it actually wasn't the caretaker. Long before I really had a clear idea of where the game was headed, it was this sort of big HAL 9000-esque light. And when Caleb and I sat down and we really started looking at what the story needed to become and all the elements that I had and how we could make it work, putting the caretaker in that scene was...
He's gonna interrupt.
I am ready.
The human inside the suit is dead.
Oh, I guess it was done. I hope it was done. So apparently you have to, what was it? Seek medical? And then also request gun? I think I saw in the,
I will return.
the speedrun. As I said, I just watched, like, the very beginning and then I stopped watching because I didn't really have time at the time. But yeah, some things are definitely required to do to progress. And yeah, I went into the menu because I wanted to see if you could, like, lower the voice volume for the game, and then maybe that wouldn't affect the commentary, so we could just turn off the voices, or turn them down at least. But oh shit, can't really do that. Probably gonna be one more here. Yep.
This room has become just a little bit more scary, but I guess in its original intention it was going to be this reveal that something more dark and sinister was happening at this facility. In the early incarnation of the story, before Caleb came on, there was an idea that the story was going to be much more about purpose, and a lot of these bots were destroyed not because there was anything wrong with them, but just because maybe they had become irrelevant in some regard, and so that what was happening was actually more of a genocide. But again, it didn't really connect with anything else in the story, did it?
Not in terms of where we wanted to go with this particular arc. I mean, we do incorporate genocide, but making it less of an emphasis here. When Aeryd presses the red button later, it's this thing, oh, I'm doing it, which is perhaps more impactful if we haven't already been in this, or at least it's different if we haven't been playing around in an environment of genocide.
Is it though? Because that's kind of what I had a little bit of an issue with. I mean, I haven't confirmed it yet. I was gonna mention that when we got there, but I assume, since he's saying that you don't have a choice. You can't not kill the robots, which I kind of assumed, but I wasn't totally sure. And yeah, like, is there a point to having you press the button yourself manually if there is no choice but to press the button manually? You have to do it, or you can't play the game. Like, I'm not so sure about that. I kind of was hoping that there would be more choice, like maybe if you didn't drain the power, there would be some other way you could take a different route and acquire the power necessary in that way, or I don't even know. Something.
I cannot
Target not engaging.
Oh, right, shoulder. Oh, right, cover. And yeah, I can just vault over and... Oh! It didn't do it this time! That bug was just a one-time thing. Interesting. Okay, so wait. I had this one. I wanted to, like, listen while I just walked, but this is the first one, right? So I'm supposed to play this one now.
Combat in the Fall went through several iterations as well. What started off as a much more complex and deep mechanic actually gave way to this simple cover-based system that we have today. I think that combat exists in this game to provide a sense of tension and dread, but was actually a little bit off-putting to players that really wanted a simpler exploration-based experience, which of course was the point of the game. That said, I do really like combat, and I think that there is a place for it in a game like this.
And without giving too much away, in part 2 of The Fall, we're playing with a different way of bringing combat into the game that actually utilizes it more to enhance the story directly without
Ooh.
interfering with the exploration stuff. So they work hand in hand.
That sounds cool. I'm excited for that. I actually, as I said again in the first episode, or whatever it was, I thought the same thing. I thought The Fall would just be a pure adventure point and click. Like, not really point and click, but sort of point and click, just looking at stuff and trying things with other things and seeing what worked and progressed from that. And then suddenly you have combat and, like, health and shields and cover and all that stuff. And it was a surprise, but not a bad surprise. I mean, it's quite basic combat, but yeah, I liked the combat. I think it served its purpose.
We have the rat scene down here, which is a fun puzzle emotionally. It fits emotionally, but it doesn't have any direct impact on the narrative.
Well, Caleb, I want to stop you there, actually, because I think that we're playing at something a lot more deeper and sophisticated in this situation.
Okay.
Well, I think that in this scene, one of the primary things that we wanted to comment on was the relationship that America had with Russia during the Cold War.
Oh God, I hope he's joking.
As you can see here, the rat is like stockpiling weapons.
Yeah.
And I think that we really did a compelling. I mean, if I may say so.
You may. Yeah.
You agree. Yeah. Well, I think it's quite poignant. I think we really hit it right on the head there.
I think there's this thing in terms of symbologyism. Where
Sure.
The rat is furry, and for that it evokes those Russian fur hats.
Of course, right. That's true.
All right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I must say that is one of the stronger visual metaphors in the game.
Yeah, and the utilization of blood. What is red? What is communism? Where does it end? Where does it start?
That's right. And Aerith is blue.
Yeah. And
she's got a glowing faceplate, which is kind of a red, white, and blue kind of thing.
That's true, and she kind of falls from the sky like a bald eagle.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah. I didn't even realize this.
And
we're
also,
geniuses.
It's all coming together.
Yeah.
What's really poignant, and this is where symbologyism starts to blend into poeticalness, and that is that it's the weapon that the Russian rat himself has been stockpiling that leads to his own demise.
That's so tragic. Yeah. Stay tuned for more of that in part 2, by the way.
Part 2, we deal with the Third Reich.
You can definitely see where the like humor is coming from in this game. Like, there's a lot of just I comment on this, or I reply to a comment about this, but I never mentioned it in the series, that like there's a lot of just dark humor and like things that are funny because they're not right, and just weird things in the game, and it is very humorous, but it's not really laugh out loud hilarious or anything. But you can definitely tell that their sense of humor is very much like the same in real life as it is in the game, which is really cool to see. Like, it's nice to see them just being completely not serious at all, but still playing it as being serious, and just sort of having fun with it, you know?
In one of its early incarnations, The Fall was more about a deep analysis of what rigidity looks like. One of the ideas that anytime you've got a system that's really rigid and really limited, you tend to have these loopholes that people use that allow them to stick with their rigid system, but also give them access to what's outside that system. And of course, as the story progresses, we find out that The Fall is sort of more about
protecting
a general...
Less about supporting the system by using the loopholes, and the system begins to deconstruct because of the loopholes.
Yeah, you got it, exactly. One of the things I've really been interested in for a long time is how story and gameplay interact. So the goal with The Fall, and probably the number one goal with The Fall actually, was to create puzzles in a way that caused players to think in a way that kind of opened their mind up for the story. By putting them in a position where they're forced to find loopholes in the system that we provide.
Shit, I was not really listening here.
A felt, almost tactile experience of what we then want to explore with the story.
Yeah, I was not really paying attention there, because I was thinking about, like, shooting this guy down and taking the power cell and the choices, because I chose to inspect the pilot the first time, and this time I just took the power cell. I mean, it didn't really matter, but just kind of made that choice, and then I need to end the episode, and, oh man, I'm gonna just listen to this again, just in between the episodes, and then we'll just start up next time, and I've listened to this, and now we can go into the next area. And there was one thing I wanted to test as we're going into the next area, but probably won't be anything. But yeah, thanks for watching this episode. This is gonna be interesting. I hope they're okay with this stuff. I don't know, I always feel a bit bad for just, like, shutting up and letting the game do all the talking for me and just playing their developer commentary, which is clearly meant for players, and just bringing it out to the world. But yeah, I hope they're okay with this, and I'll try to share some thoughts on things if they pop up. But yeah, we'll call it there for today. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye!